You're watching the Chaos Protocol on Transplanar RPG, an all-transgender, people of color-led dark fantasy TTRPG show set in an original non-colonial, anti-Orientalist multiverse. If you like what you see, please consider pledging to our Patreon to support the show and get access to a patron-only after-show, early podcast episodes, GM notes, character sheets, and even the chance for your tabletop OC to cameo in our series. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy. The Chaos Protocol is a dark fantasy series that may contain content that is triggering for some viewers. Content warnings for this episode include romance, death, blood, gore, body horror, fantasy violence, ghosts, reckless driving, heights, falling, vast bodies of water, smoking, fire, memory loss, and a brief poetic reference to suicide. Arc 3, Episode 5, Your Heart is a City. From Praying Beside the Teeth That Killed Me, by Connie Chang.
Two houses, both alike in dignity, in fair inferno where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death inflame their parents' strife. The fated cycle of their death-marked feud, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which, with their children's end, naught could remove, is now the many hours' traffic of our stage. The which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Xainan Esh. The first thing you notice is the dripping. Constant, flat, wet. Water trickling into some unfortunate gutter or rolling off the rusty edges of a fire escape. Tap, tap, tap. What's it tapping against?
Water on leather. Tapping on beautifully embellished black cowboy boots with a silver tangle of snakes and arrows wrapping around the outside. The silver toe caps and the studded straps shine in the shitty sodium light. The sound of metal scraping on concrete breaks the tapping from a ball-end spur shifting as a dead man's toe twitches. A tan hand with red splatter across it slaps the alley ground, looking for something. Ugh. Splayed out on the ground, there is a mess of wet black denim and leather, thick with coagulated blood in a few spots. He runs a hand over a warm, honey-colored face with deep pinkish scars, framed with a dusty brown, scruffy beard, smeared with more blood as it goes. The drips pass over the olive green markings on his cheekbones that almost recede into his hair and over the black tattoo of cracked earth on the right side of his face. Toes up. Thanks, fate.
You feel terrible, Xainan. You feel like you've been stabbed in the gut.
Ugh. The delirium holds him for a moment before he stands, dripping, in the alley. He pulls down a black Henley over an entrance wound in his gut that has stopped bleeding some time ago. and he straightens the black studded leather jacket on his shoulders. Now, where in the journey is...
As it turns out, Xainan, you are in an alleyway, slumped against a dumpster. The smell here is wretched. The pavement is cold and wet against your skin. A gray autumn drizzle patters against your leather jacket. And in the near distance, you hear cars, engines humming, horns bleeding, the unmistakable sounds of city nightlife. But here, in this putrid alleyway, your only companions are bulging bags of trash and the dull, pulsating pain inside your gut that fades with every throb.
He turns, the worry building as his right hand flexes and fidgets. It's still empty. He was holding his hat just a second ago. Around his waist, a semi-sheer black fabric hangs loosely down past his knees that still drips. It leads up underneath the leather jacket and is lost in the long alleyway shadows that hug him close. The gentle sound of light metals and the settling of buckles follow him like the gentle bells of mourners as he starts to look all around the pool of blood that he was laying in. Around his neck is a tangle of mismatched necklaces on chains and cords, each bearing a different pendant. A silver cherry blossom catches the light among them before vanishing under a heavy black shawl that he pulls. Seir? Lumièra! The hell?
A crow, as black as night, with the slightest hint of green in its feathers, perches a few bare feet away from your hand. It's pecking, peck, 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 at something on the dirty ground. Your hat.
He reaches for it but stops. His hat, black flat-brimmed hat that he always has, with a black bandana banded around it underneath a studded leather strap. Before he rudely interrupts this bird, hello? Can I have that?
Peck, peck, peck.
Come here.
It hops
He's gonna
dexterously out of the way as you reach for the hat.
All right. I'm just going to take this. Thanks. Seir. And Xainan straightens up, writes the hat, and starts to really look. They should be here. We all got into the portal together. This is not how this is supposed to go.
No, it is not. As you take in your environs, you see cables, wiring stretching above your head. If you jumped and tried really hard, you could probably slap the underside of it. They're hanging quite loose underneath these, like, iron pipes and fittings and these little slanted overhangs that fend off a little bit of the gray autumn drizzle coming down from the sky. You can hear a more busy main street somewhere out there and flashes of light flitting past the alley mouth, but in here things are relatively quiet and dark. And then the crow gets your attention again. It, with a flutter of wings, onto the top of one of these overhangs and looks down at you with a beady eye. Ah! Ah!
Have you seen them?
Its head twitches from side to side to side, glinting. And then its head goes down, and it stares at your shawl. Ah!
Oh.
Ah! Ah!
I mean, and he kind of like waves it. It's also wet and dripping towards the crow, kind of offering it as something for the crow to either land on or like pull on. He's not really sure.
The crow snaps its beak, which you now notice is rather damp with some sort of liquid. And as the wings flutter over to you and it gets closer, you see a flash of crimson against its beak. Blood. Your blood. And then, fast as lightning, this carrion crow in, and with the beak snatches one of your necklaces and pulls it off the chain with surprising force and starts flying out of the alleyway. You look down, and it is the cherry blossom necklace that has been taken.
Huh. And Xainan starts to think the moment strange and then remembers all of the times that he chased the cherry blossom in the city of heaven. And he feels that pull of her. And you hear the sound of cowboy boots running down a wet alley.
Yeah, over puddles of liquid, dubious liquid. As you run and run and run, you see like little bits of rain interrupted with brief bouts of dryness as you flit underneath overhangs, chasing the fluttering black feathers of the crow, and then it darts out into a main street. And Xainan and Esh, you hurtle headfirst into the thick, congested roadways of Inferno. Lumièra. The first thing you notice is the familiar and comforting smell of books. Old parchment, cracked spines, ink that's been dry for so long that it takes on its own pleasantly bitter character. As your eyes flutter open, you find yourself in a used bookstore. It's small and cramped, but cozy, warm. An electric fireplace hums amidst haphazardly organized shelves. You realize that you are sitting, not in the middle of this bookstore, but behind the counter. And you look different. How?
Lumièra, startled from her coming to in this bookstore. However, there's some bits of it that's comforting to her in the aspect of the familiarity of books, of parchment, of ink. That soothes her anxiety just a bit, but next her eyes are wide and frantic. She definitely does look a little bit different. Typically her hair that's like normally out and unruly in some spots are braided up, half down. A lot of her white hair, or hair that has turned white, is pretty much on display throughout the course of the braids that sits all in the front. She is adorned in black, form-fitting, almost skin-tight leathers, where she has a very deep, low V cut here. Her clock gear tattoo on her chest is bright and on display. However, her uniform doesn't have as much of the clock gears adorning across her shoulders and back as she typically does. The clock gears kind of stay at her belt in her midsection, where it holds everything else. Typical like high boots, her high boots, they're probably like platform more than anything else. So not our typical heeled boots, but they're like more like platform combat boots. And I think the thing that really sets her on edge, she doesn't realize it until she is placing her hands in front of her, trying to see if where she's at is real, when she notices that her left hand, that typically is gold plated, is now rotted, dead, decayed. All where her gold typically is its decrepit old hand. And I think that freaks the fuck out of her for a second. So her eyes go really, really wide. She's like, shit, holy shit, what? Oh. And as she's trying to make sense of where she's at, trying to understand why her hand looks like this, trying to find Seir and Pop Pop, she gets this deep pang, a rumble that sits in her core. She's not 100% sure what exactly it is. Feels almost akin to hunger, but she doesn't have time for a snack right now.
Lumièra, as your eyes scan this bookstore, you see rather low ceilings and these strips of fluorescent lights that cast everything in a very cold, bright light, including your own hands as you examine your features here. And these rows and rows and shelves of books, there's no one here, it's just you. You can hear the kind of high-pitched whining of the lights above your head, and from somewhere, speakers embedded in some godforsaken place, Muzak plays. Kind of just like music in the background that's rather forgettable and a little irritating. And then you hear a little bell, ding, 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 as a door somewhere opens and a cold gust of wind comes in. As you follow the sensation and you hear like papers and pages flapping, you see a young person walk in from the front door, which is embedded against a ramp maybe like 3 feet up, and you realize this bookstore is set into like the ground floor of a street. You'd have to like go down a ramp to enter. And a person comes in this cardigan, this like shawl that they start to unwrap, this like little beanie that barely hides this like huge frizzy kind of like red hair, dark skin, freckles, kind of chapped lips, and they're going, "Ooh, it's chilly outside, Lumièra. Ooh. Well, you are relieved of your duties, ma'am. Here to take over. I got you coffee, too. I'm not sure how you like it. Is hazelnut okay?" And you see that they're kind of, like, juggling a bag as well as, like, a little parchment holder where you put coffee in. There's 2 cups inside. They set the holder onto the counter as they start going behind it and dropping their things off.
Thank you.
Here you go. And this person who's putting on a badge and handing you a cup of coffee at the same time, you see the badge flash across the front of their cardigan that says Micah, and you realize you have a similar badge pinned into the front of your shirt that says Lumièra.
At least they included the accent over the E. Thank you.
Oh yeah, management is really, really, really on top of making sure that everyone's names are printed correctly. You know, when I first started working here, they did Micah without an H.
You have a good day, Micah. Thank you.
Well, it's nighttime now, but thanks, I appreciate that. And as Micah starts settling in and relieving you of your duties, you assume this means they're clocking in so you can clock out. They kind of like sidle in next to you, and in addition to the waft of hazelnut coffee, you also get a waft of Micah. There's their kind of like perfume, or rather shampoo, which is a lot of it, but underneath that coconut, there's something else that smells really fucking good. Almost like nectar, like the honey of the gods, if you were allowed to drink that in the city of heaven. And it's coming from Micah, as Micah is rather short, and they start bustling about, and your eyes scoot down, rather it's coming from Micah's exposed neck, as they pull their shawl down and start tucking it away into a cubby beneath the counter.
I think there's a moment where Lumièra's senses perk up, and almost just against her will, her body naturally kind of leans towards Micah to pick up on the scent a bit more. And as they walk away, it's almost like she has to tear herself from it. She leans in a little bit further.
kind of jolt yourself out of it at the same time as there's a ding coming from your pocket. And then another ding. Micah says with a giggle, someone's Miss Popular.
Well, you know me. Always in the know. And Lumièra's like patting herself, trying to find where whatever this pinging is coming from off of her person.
So it turns out that your trousers have pockets, and rather wide, comfy, and deep pockets. And in the right pocket, your fingers slip around a rectangular and thin, hard object.
I pull it out.
It appears to be a miniature tablet of sorts. You've seen these tablets at Trans before, typically at R&D, scientists tapping on them to record the latest logs of their experiments, but it's much smaller than a typical tablet. And as you flip it up and angle it towards your face, the screen turns on. And what is the lock screen of Lumièra's phone?
The lock screen of Lumièra's phone is a preteen Lumièra. It's an old picture, very old, but it's actually of Lumièra, Chang, and Seir, one of their random outing excursions when they were coming up at Trans together. It's an old picture of the three of them.
I think there's a part of you that startles a little when you see Sing. This preteen Sing, bright and smiling, hair not grown out yet, pronouns not quite exactly settled, with arms slung around both you and Seir, grinning wide. And then your eyes travel to the two message previews that have popped up. The earlier message, they're both from an unknown number. The earlier message reads, "You're going to miss it. Again." And then the second message reads, "Outside."
Lumièra will slide her phone back into her pocket, eyebrows high up, eyes still very wide and uncomfortable. She will turn around, grab her latte or whatever that she got from Micah, and without much fanfare, just be like, have a good one, Micah.
Have a good one. Yeah, you too, Miss Nova. Bye-bye.
She just walks through outside, not really knowing how to react to that, or I don't have a last name.
Do you say that out loud so Micah hears on your way out?
I say it under my breath as I'm walking out of the door.
Sure.
It's like,
they don't catch it in that case. Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't have a last name. Okay. And then like once the door closes behind me, I like open up the latte just to like smell it, and it does not smell nice. So I just put the lid back on it.
It smells like hazelnut and coffee, smells that you can detect, but the same allure that it would usually give you at Trans isn't there. As you step outside, a cold autumnal gust buffets you, ruffles your hair, ruffles your clothes. You look out over the busy streets of the city, and you take your very first step into Inferno. Ro. The first thing you notice is that you got the wrong wood. Actually, you kinda got the wrong everything, because this isn't some tiny hole in some drywall like the guy on your phone is yabbering about. This is blown open concrete. After all, you're in the middle of the Recluse Gallery, the prize and joy of the Inferno Contemporary Museum of Art. You crouch amidst a vast modern hall with stone floors and stone walls, the timeless splendor of exposed brick clashing against the modern sensibilities of the current collection that's being installed. You curated this collection, of course. What is it? And what is the best piece in it?
It is, well, it's the Recluse Gallery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it is Recluse pieces. At least that's the way that Ro likes to explain the gallery, the way that they like to pitch it to artists, investors, whoever might be coming through, patrons. It is an eclectic collection of different mediums, of different styles, things that other galleries might turn their noses up at, but Ro knows better. Ray knows that there is something special about each of these different pieces, something that is unusual. And when put together, it creates this, some might call it discordant, but Ro thinks it is a beautiful web of art that is placed together. The best piece that's in here actually is from one of the lesser houses that had recently, actually quite recently, allied with House Thakrar, and it is this absolutely gorgeous piece that takes up the majority of one of the walls. It is an east-facing wall, and it is a textile piece that is made up of fraying and decaying threads that have been crisscrossed in all sorts of ways. The artist refuses to say what exactly this woven piece is supposed to depict, saying something about it tells you something about your psychology every time you look, what you see.
Well, Ro, whatever you'd be able to ascertain about your own psychology is in shreds. This piece is torn apart, and it's currently scattered at your feet with loose threads of shredded fabric, as though a massive tiger just went at it. And it's not just ruined, it's covered in dried blood. And around it, we see gouge marks in the floor. We see a separating wall that kind of forms a partition to block off various parts of the Recluse Gallery with a huge hole blasted through it and random crooked spikes of broken rebar appearing through it like blasted veins. This isn't the only piece of art that was ruined either, but it's certainly the most notable one.
We see the back of Ro standing at a very tall and lithe 6'4", as they stand there with a phone in one hand that is blasting a YouTube tutorial of how to patch up holes in the wall at them. And in the other hand, Ray is holding wood glue, just a small bottle of wood glue that they thought might be sufficient for this task. And as they kind of peer down at this shredded tapestry woven art piece that is before them, they kind of like look between the two items in their hand, and then Ray looks down at the planks of wood that have been propped up against the wall next to this gigantic hole that has been pierced through the art gallery. Just a few different planks that Ray got from the home hardware store down the street, thinking that it might be sufficient to patch this up.
House Depot.
And Ray sighs, sets down the phone next to them on the floor, and then assesses this piece that has been ruined. As they do so, Ro's eyes, their striking yellow eyes, kind of like analyze all of the different pieces, and Ray says to themselves, mostly just mumbling, it can't be that hard to recreate, right? I mean, we have pictures of it in its original form, and, you know, with a little cleaning, maybe it could...
Right. Your sharp yellow eyes travel back down to the tattered portion where Ren's blood has refused to scrub out of the fabric and of the concrete, because you waited just a little too long and the blood has seeped into the stone. You're probably gonna need a power washer for this.
Even in death, you are leaving me problems, Ren. Okay, Ro puts down the wood glue next to the planks of wood that are the incorrect kind of wood for this job and runs a hand through their very long, curly black hair. The front pieces of their hair are dyed yellow, very similar to the coloration of a yellow garden spider, and Ro worries their lip a little as they look at this. Ray steps back, folds their arms, looks over to one of the other paintings that is up on the wall, takes it off of the wall, goes back towards the wall that has the big hole, and holds it up. We could say it's part of it?
It barely covers the hole, but then there's a hole on the other side too.
Oh,
so it covers the hole on one side.
Okay. You know what? And then Ro puts down the painting on the floor, take a step back and says, okay. Well, we can't exactly call Lanius for this, so somebody has to figure out how to patch this all up. I know people. I know people.
You do know people, Ro. That's your whole thing. You do have a very dense and effective web of connections. Unfortunately, all of the construction workers, electricians, plumbers, and anyone who might be able to actually fix this in a timely manner before the opening of the next collection, which is very soon and you still need to put together, would be Lanius.
And now there's this frantic tapping of Ro's foot, their one foot against the gallery floor, which is amplified and echoed by the fact that we are in a gallery and it is dead quiet in here. And this very tall, high-heeled boot is tapping rapidly. Intricate lace that goes all the way up Ro's leg, all the way up to their knee, and just a little over their thigh. On the top, Ro is wearing this black top that is all belts and chains put together in very seemingly haphazard kind of mismatched way, a very asymmetrical design to it. And in the front, you can see just where the neckline is low enough, you can see a large white ink tattoo across their chest, their shoulders, their upper back that resembles the patterns of stabilimenta on a spider's web.
Ro, you are beautiful, of course, and as you tap and you fret, maybe sway a little on the spot, all of the reflective surfaces in this room, glass boxes that priceless pieces rest inside, even a large installation piece that's a now shattered mirror, do not reflect your beauty back at you. As far as the mirrors and surfaces of the Recluse Gallery are concerned, there's no one in here at all.
It's better that way. Nobody in here at all. And Ro looks around at this mess. The gears turn in their head, and Ray pulls out Rare Phone and starts going through the different contacts that they have on Rare Phone and starts looking at all of the different people that we had. Yes, House Lanius controls all of the construction, unfortunately, within the city of Inferno, but there are dissidents, people that aren't necessarily happy with their lot in the way that we have structured everything. There has to be somebody. There has to be somebody, right? That's unhappy.
You scroll through your contacts list and you're crossing off each name for various reasons. No, their skill set doesn't match. No, they're weirdly loyal to Lanius. No. And then the surface of your phone glitches. Like static pans over briefly, which is odd, unusual. And at the same time, you feel a chill settle into this room as the temperature inside the Recluse Gallery drops by 3 degrees instantly and keeps going down.
And Ro, I think, moves her shoulders as the temperature drops, looks up, and takes a moment to assess the air in the room, because an art gallery is very strictly temperature controlled. Any fluctuations can damage the pieces, and that is not something that we can have. A mistake like that is amateur.
And then a bang and a clatter as that painting you unseated from the ceiling and leaned up against the hole suddenly falls over with a rather violent display.
And as that happens, Ro almost jumps back, almost as if they are retreating from something themselves. They jump back and they look at where this painting had fallen off of the ground, off of the wall onto the ground. And they slowly start to step towards it, looking, expecting to see an animal of some kind behind the wall in this hole in the gallery. Ray is ready to catch it, hopefully.
As you approach the hole in this gallery, the only sound resonating your own boot steps, you catch a flash of movement from the corner of your eye, not where you're headed, but almost directly behind you.
Ray turns around as quickly as possible, a snap.
Yes, you turn around with inhuman reflexes. You snap and you see just the barest trail of some sort of flapping cloth from going from behind a wall. But it didn't quite look solid, it looked semi-transparent. And then pieces start clicking into place. The fizzling phone, the cold spot, the tumbling over painting, the translucence.
And Ro takes a big sigh, more of annoyance than anything else, and calls out, "Please tell me we don't have a ghost in the gallery."
Xainan, the streets of Inferno are slick with neon. Neon everywhere, on the wet surface of the pavement where mopeds trill and pedestrians congregate, against signs proffering wares such as shopping malls to bookstores, to apartment complexes, to boutique hardware stores. But most of all, the neon is on the people. There are so many people everywhere wearing headphones that light up, consulting little tablets held in their hands, holding the hands of lovers, of parents, of children, people everywhere as you spill onto the street. So many sights, sounds, smells, it's almost overwhelming. And we see your own pupils dilating slightly as you take in all of this light, all of this noise, all of this sound, and the autumn rain continues to fall in this nice drizzle against you. And then the carrion crow, weaving above the heads of various members of the crowd, though none spared a second glance.
We see the neon reflecting in Xainan's heterochromia, green and golden eyes that follow the crow quickly, and he just begins to, again, continue to run. And he's not yelling anymore. He is just guided like an arrow.
As you go straight and you weave through people dexterously, you find yourself imbued with a kind of reflex, strength, sinewyiness that is enhanced to a degree that you didn't have access to at trans. You feel alive and alert. Every movement, every whisper, every sound and color and shift you notice, and you're able to kind of react to instantaneously. And you realize you're not just overwhelmed because this is a city, a very dense urban city, but your very senses themselves have been sharpened like a butcher's knife. So you're able to anticipate where people are going to go before they even know they're going to go there.
There's a pleasure in it that flows through him very suddenly, like the joy of dancing, like what it must feel like for a horse to gallop, and he runs after this crow.
There is a feeling of freedom that blooms within you as you dart after this crow, and you weave and you turn and you spin, and you're able to avoid these people who barely even seem to notice you. You blend into the movement of the crowd, into the shadows. You move past street performers dancing on pieces of cardboard with a hat laid out over the pavement and bits of coins and bills stuffed inside. You weave past a large brigade of motorbikes all waiting at a red light, trilling like a bike gang. And then you move through a narrow alleyway and open up into a shopping complex filled with all kinds of restaurants with various parked cars and bikes everywhere. And this crow is fluttering, still just barely out of reach. But you're getting closer, Xainan. You're gaining ground on the crow.
The life here is almost overwhelming. Trans has a lot of people. There's people everywhere at Trans, but it's not alive like this. And there's something about the feeling that's washing over him that he's been walking as a ghost, as a shadow for so long, and suddenly here in this thrum of people, he can taste it. Life everywhere in this city. It's almost overwhelming, but in a really good way.
You can hear hearts pumping in chests, blood flowing through veins, adrenaline rushing underneath skin. And then you see the crow slow down as it flies, and it kind of does a flyby. You see the pendant glimmer in its talons and then drop. The crow drops the pendant and it flies down, and fits perfectly into someone's bike bag on the back of someone's motorbike. It is a sleek black and silver motorcycle idling and parked right outside what appears to be some sort of artisan shop. And there's a person seated on the bike who has just put on their helmet so you can't see their features, and this like leather bike jacket and these biker trousers, so you really don't know anything about what they look like aside from the fact that they're a biker. And then they vroom, 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 and they peel off as soon as the pendant drops into their bike bag without noticing. They start to peel off into the street much faster than the crow.
Xainan digs into that newfound agility to try and run after it, after the bike. But is there a way to go faster?
Yeah, even as a vampire really fast, you probably can't outrun like a racing street bike. Your eyes scan the crowd, and it's as though fate has your back, Xainan, because what do you see but 5 feet off to your left, a muscular sport bike. Custom underlights, red as blood. There's even a helmet on the leather seat, and even better, the keys are still in the ignition. It's idling.
Huh. And were it not for fate, there would still be that twinge, that thing that pulled him to stealing the gold in the city of heaven. Someone just left this here. And very slickly, he pulls off his hat, puts it into a saddlebag in this bike, grabs the helmet with one hand, flips it on, and jumps on the bike all in like one very quick fluid motion, somewhere between hopping on a bird and dancing.
You swing onto this bike, you the ignition, and you peel off as you fit the helm over your head. It smells vaguely like very expensive and rich cigars, and then off you go. And everything's tinted through like the glaze of your helmet, but you can see perfectly this person in their own sleek black and silver motorcycle racing through the street. So you're gonna try to catch up to this person, right?
Yeah. I think the first thing that he notices when he puts the helmet on, though, is that he's almost transported for just a second into a memory in busy streets at home, smelling the smell of tobacco. And it pushes him further into the chase, and he smiles from ear to ear, cracking those scars across his face.
I love that. So how are you going to try to catch up to this person? In what way are you riding this bike?
I mean, he's hunting.
Okay.
This is a chase that he can do.
I love it.
Yeah.
So We are playing Court of Vampires, which is our own hack of Court of Blades by a couple of Drakes who are a sponsor for this season. How this works is a D6 dice pool system whenever player characters want to make actions. So you tell me the action you're trying to make. I don't tell you as the game master, but I do get to do something else that's rather fun based on the Forged in the Dark engine that this runs on. So what action are you using?
I'm going to use Hunt.
Hunt.
Right? Oh.
Yes. Okay. This means you're carefully tracking a target without losing sight of them. That makes a lot of sense. How many pips, or what is your skill rating, do you have in Hunt?
I have 2.
2 pips. That means you roll 2d6. But wait, there's something else we have to consult because we are vampires. Whenever you make a skill roll, look at how much thirst you have. So, Xainan, you've just landed in Inferno. You've been overwhelmed by these sights and sounds. You have a specific goal in mind, but even as you rush off, you feel that not quite hunger, but still desire brimming underneath your sternum that Lumièra felt in the bookstore. It's your thirst, what Lucy, patron saint of monsters, had warned you about. And here in Inferno, as a brand new vampire, all of you are going to start out with 3 thirst. That means you're hungry. So you are going to automatically minus 1d from your dice pool if you are hungry. That's 3 to 5 thirst. So that only gives you 1d. Would you like to try to add bonus dice to this roll?
Yes.
Okay. The ways to do this are if you push yourself and pay 2 thirst by doing so, or if you would like to accept a twist of fate from me. It's a devil's bargain of some kind.
I think he doesn't know the limits of this newfound joy that he has been chasing. So I think it is correct that he digs deeper and pushes himself in this chase.
Okay, so you get 1d, that you're going back up to 2d6, but you do need to take 2 thirst. You are bumped up to 5 thirst. And that thirst track, y'all, is 9 boxes long. When you mark the 9th box, something real bad happens. Let me tell you that. We don't have to dig into that right now. Okay, so you're hunting this person just by trying to follow them and push the engine of this bike and not lose sight of them, yes?
Yes.
Okay, I get to now set position and effect. So position is how risky your action is, and is ranged from controlled, risky, or desperate. And effect is how much impact your action will have, and ranges from 0 to extreme. I'm gonna say your position here is risky. You are starting a bike chase through the streets of Inferno. You stand to lose something from this. The effect is going to be standard. You're chasing someone who is also presumably a very good bike rider, because they own their own bike and you don't necessarily do that. No. So roll 2d6 and tell me the result. What is your highest roll from that?
It's a 5.
That is a 5. That is good. So a 4 or a 5 is a partial success, which means you do what you set out to do at a cost, a complication, or a consequence. So what does it look like as you start to close the gap between you and this person in the midst of this shopping complex?
Xainan is usually pretty quick to learn how to operate a vehicle. His ma taught him how to practically drive anything, and what he didn't learn from her, he learned from stealing them. And so he, in motion, is figuring out how this bike is working, and when he finally figures out how to push it harder, it goes from like quick chase to dangerously weaving through the streets as quickly as he can.
Okay, yeah. You start to close the gap, just like you close the gap between yourself and the carrion crow, right? So now you're like 3 car lengths behind, 2 car lengths behind, 1 car length behind. You're almost on this person's ass. And then you notice this person tilt their helmet slightly and look at you. Even though you can't see their eyes, you feel them look at you through the mirror. And you notice that there's no reflection in the mirror. Neither do you see yourself. Through the mirrors, it looks like 2 autonomous bikes zooming through the streets of Inferno. And then this person, this is the consequence you get, this person has noticed you. They tilt their bike to the side and they off-road it. They go off the street and onto a ramp that goes down to a different plaza of this shopping district. They narrowly avoid hitting someone who like shouts and like puts their arms up like, what the fuck is your deal? Do you follow?
He does, and I think he yells, forgetting that he's wearing a helmet for people to get out of the way. So he just yells in his helmet.
But they can't hear you over the roaring of your engine and the pulsing lights flashing underneath the carapace of your vehicle. And also, you realize this bike, as soon as you revved the ignition, started blasting music from custom-built speakers. This kind of like funk mixed with trap music that's just going. You follow
I thought that was
this
just
person.
the engine.
Nope, it's music. This person, because of this maneuver they did, you caught up just a bit, and then they widened the gap between the two of you as well. They seem quite adept at weaving off-road in city streets. They kind of up off of like a ramp, and they land kind of hard. The wheels squeal and lead like these like skid marks on the asphalt, and then they onto a main road, blaring past a red light and cutting off people behind them.
Are there stairs?
Oh, yeah.
Are there stairs in
There's
the
a ramp
shopping
and
center?
stairs. Yeah, from where
Cool.
they jumped off.
Xainan is going to look for the stairs because he's looking to go maybe up a story before launching into this intersection to jump
like, cut
past
this person
where they
off?
were. Yes.
Okay, we can keep your roll from earlier, right, for this particular maneuver. You find a flight of stairs and you go up the stairs on your bike. There's like, and it's like riding a fucking bronco as you try not to like lose control of this bike. And then you kind of skid around a corner, barely avoiding hitting a group of drunken college students who kind of like, whoa, like duck out of the way. And then you see it, the street that this person is on underneath you, right? There's like 2 more flights of stairs and a landing before you can cut them off. But you have kind of taken a shortcut and you're positioned to get in front of them. And as these 2 bikes start to converge on the same point, you see this person suddenly tilt their head as if they sense you off to the side. They look at you and you don't know why. You can't see their face, but you get the sense that they are smiling at you. They jerk their handles at the last moment, and instead of going deeper into the city, they get onto an on-ramp. An on-ramp that takes them onto a massive 8-lane expressway.
Xainan revs the engine, tries to bump that engine sound music as loud as he can as a warning to people ahead of him, and he is just going to barrel after this person.
Okay. Yeah, you barely avoid this time getting hit by a 12-wheeler truck coming off of this, like, the opposing on. It like leans on its horn as you barely miss getting like absolutely fucking wasted, and then you follow this motorbike onto the on-ramp. And now you're no longer limited by having to take it slow on heavily foot trafficked streets. You're just vroom, vroom, vroom. You go 40, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour in like a few seconds flat. This person is like weaving between traffic that's going like 4 lanes of traffic in one direction and 4 lanes of traffic going the other direction, separated by these huge train tracks. Thankfully, you don't see a train coming right now, currently. But now you see pickup trucks, you see 12-wheelers, you see other bikers, you see drag racers, you see sport bikes, you see sport cars, you see regular-looking vans with families inside of them, and this person is weaving and ducking and weaving between all of them. I need you to make me another roll. You pick the skill.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still hunting this person.
Okay.
Fate compels me. I'll put it that way.
Hunger still applies, so your 2d6 goes down to a 1d6. Would you like to push yourself again, or accept the twist of fate?
I think this time he's starting to really feel, I think driving through all those people, he was really starting to feel that, like, what if I stop the bike? What if I stop the bike right now? Something here smells delicious. And I think that's starting to startle him a little. And so he is going to push himself, but I don't think in the mechanical sense. I don't think that he can quite get there.
Okay, that's totally fine. So roll me 1d6.
Ooh, that's a 2. Oh,
That is a bad outcome. Things go poorly. You fail or suffer intense complications. Okay. I think things actually seem to go well for you for a second here. You take it easy, right? Like you're like focusing in on this chase, and you're able to kind of wash away the smell of blood, the pounding of it in various veins inside metal armor pieces that are these cars flitting past you. And then you focus. You focus in on this person in front of you in this black and silver motorcycle, and you start to close the gap again. Because you are also not some random sucker. You know how to operate this thing. You know how to make this engine purr in rhythm to your desires. And you start catching up. Both of you are going easily 70 miles an hour, probably inching up to 80, starting to edge into 90 as you're flitting by people even in the fast lane, like weaving. And as soon as you are about 2 car lengths behind, this person, again, glances over their shoulder briefly at you, and again, you get the feeling that they're smirking at you, and they yank the handlebars onto the train tracks. They're past both sets of train tracks, and then they start driving into oncoming traffic. Weaving between cars that are like now leaning on their horns, swerving to try to get out of the way, as though they're challenging you to follow them.
Xainan has to follow. He doesn't even know where to start looking for anyone else, and that crow was pulling it. The cherry blossom was pulling him somewhere, and so he follows. He's hoping that wherever this smirking stranger is going is hopefully where Lumièra and Seir are. If nothing else, he'll find them. Or the person that called in the Mayday or anything, because this is, sometimes you just have to go with it.
Okay, you get onto the set of train tracks. There's a bump as you go over the ridges of metal. And as you're onto the second set of tracks, because they're in 2 directions, you see lights moving very quickly down the track towards you. Oh, this isn't just a train, it's a high-speed rail going 300 miles an hour, hurtling toward you. And you see it, and it leans on its horn. You see your literal fucking life flash before your eyes as, like in slow-mo, your bike pops off of the tracks just as it hurtles past. And behind, you see people in the window. A few of them have, like, pressed their faces to the glass and are staring at you as you start onto oncoming traffic. From the near miss, the back of your bike gets clipped by a truck going the one way, and you almost skid out. You almost lose control. You see like something metal fly off of it, and like the music kind of stutters a bit, but continues going. You fuck this bike up a little bit, and you're you're able to kind of like wrest control of it, kind of get back onto it. The truck can also clip your leg.
Ow.
That is going to be a moderate injury for you. Your leg starts flaring with a kind of crunched bone and pain to the rhythm of the pain still in your gut. So I'm gonna add mangled leg to your injury list. I put that at a moderate injury, that's in the middle. That's how harm works in this game. We track injuries and we place them on like a grid tier. You continue to follow this person, but because of the risks you've taken, they haven't shaken you, and you have consistently been getting closer and closer to them. And then you see what their goal was. Not just to get into oncoming traffic, not just to try to shake you, but as you get closer and closer to the middle of what you realize is not just an expressway, but in the midst of the chaos has turned into a bridge. You see a massive river glittering on either side of you, looking dark underneath a single pale moon, almost full, shining down across the water. You see boats sailing on this river and the glimmering lights of the skyline on either bank. And then you see a huge ferry a couple 100 feet in front of you beginning to make its way to the bridge. And a section of the bridge has had this big like railroad crossing. Arms are starting to come down as the middle of the bridge is beginning to lift and traffic is slowing down in either direction. This person, however, does not slow down. In fact, they gun it even harder, and you are sure that their RPM is going crazy, and that needle of the MPH is edging into 120.
Swearing a little, because that hurt. And I think he goes, like, he has a moment of self-awareness where he feels like he should be feeling the sweat of adrenaline, and it's not there. It's just blood. All the wet against him is just water and blood. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not, I guess I'm not as stressed as I thought I was. And his hands move faster than I think he even realizes they're moving. And he is just pushing this bike harder and harder. He is not stopping. He is not looking. He is trusting in her will.
You trust in her will. The needle almost rips out of the odometer, and you see it edge into 100 miles an hour, 110, 120, 150. As you gain ground, they gain ground. They go up onto the lifting part of the bridge. They go up, and just as the two sides crack open, this person sails over it. And they hang in midair in front of that almost full moon before they hit the other side and boom. And now Xainan, you follow. But even in the spare few seconds you have between each other, that gap has widened. As you up onto this makeshift ramp, you also hang in midair in front of that almost full moon and Lumièra. You step onto the street of Inferno. You're in a shopping complex of some kind. The bookstore you just left, we see a little hanging sign swaying in the breeze above your head that reads Raven's Used Books. There's like a little silhouette of a raven on top of a stack of books. And you see just what Xainan did. Chrome and neon everywhere, a dense urban playground with street performers and street vendors and all sorts of people enjoying the nightlife. The smells of asphalt and concrete and smoke. And the vivid colors flashing in front of your eyes. You, as soon as you step out, hear a vroom as you see off to your right a motorbike of silver and black peel off, and then seconds later, vroom, another motorbike peel off as you see Xainan just fitting a helmet over his head and racing off before you can do anything about it.
Hey. Damn it, Xainan. Every time. Every fucking time. Alright, I guess I'm heading in that direction. There's no point in running, but...
As you walk in the direction that Xainan and this mystery rider just vacated, you see someone stomping out of a gambling parlor, kind of like very pissed off and angry. This kind of muscular Asian woman in her late 30s, and she's built like a fucking champion powerlifter. She's got this dark skin, shaggy black hair, shaved on the sides, and this kind of vicious wolf cut, and these faded blue eyes. And she's dressed in this trucker's jacket with these natural furs around the collar, this very well-worn leather, these work boots, and she's currently chewing on a hand-rolled cigar that she rips out of her mouth and slaps onto the ground and like gouges out with the tip of her steel-toe boot, and she's like shouting after the person, Xainan, that has just gone off in this motorbike, "You fucking... whoever the fuck you are, I'm gonna catch you and I'm gonna skin you the fuck alive! Fuck! Damn it!"
I assume that was your bike.
Faded blue eyes fixed sharply on you at that. Gives you a once-over and then a twice-over as both of you realize at the same time you're both vampires. There's this kind of resonance in the air between the two of you, and a stilling of the blood. You can sense everyone else's hearts beating. You cannot sense hers. Yeah, of course it was. That asshole fucking took Moxie. What, you know him?
Acquaintances, for sure.
Acquaintances. And what's your name?
Why would... Listen, I'm just here observing.
Just observing? Fine, what house do you claim? You claim no house?
Yeah.
Fucking great. I'll find you, and I'll find your acquaintance, and both of you will be getting a call from me and Sakti. And maybe House Thakrar too, since they want to poke their noses into everyone's business and fix problems made by those without houses. God fucking Thakrar, fucking asshole! She exclaims out loud and turns her back on you and stomps off.
Someone really needs a de-stressor.
Lumièra, as you stand there, sighing, taking all of this in, you hear another ding coming from that tablet pocket.
Oh, what the fuck? Lumièra will reach in her pocket and pull out the mini tablet.
It's from that same unknown number, and it reads, "Always too little, too late."
I think at this point in time, she gets frustrated enough to text back now, or attempt to, and just types out, "Who the fuck is this?"
Ding! A response. "Chasing him is pointless right now, but there is still much you can do. Go here." Ding! And then a pin drops onto a map preview of some kind inside the conversation. Do you click on it?
How do I know to trust you?
Ping! You just do. And something about this interaction, Lumièra, starts to feel vaguely familiar to you. The strange coded messages, the random appearances out of nowhere just when you most need or least need them. Could this be the Drifter?
Lumièra will tap the location ping.
It opens up into a new screen, another app, a map of some kind, and you see your current location as a flashing blue dot, and then the dropped pin, which looks to be about a 20-minute walk away from this shopping district, into a different neighborhood.
Okay, well, I guess I'm following that trail to the neighborhood.
You chart a course to the neighborhood, and then we smash cut to you standing at your destination. This is a very different place from that neon nightlife shopping plaza. It's still vibrant and bustling, but it feels a lot more homey. You see now closed cafes, various residential apartments with beautiful painted murals on brick walls, and various art and dance studios. This seems to be a thriving arts district. A lot quieter compared to that shopping mall, but there are still a few people ambulating up and down the street. But that pin isn't for any cafe or apartment or art studio. It is in front of an eyesore of a building. This building is a burned down skeleton. Perhaps once it was beautiful. In fact, once it was vast and majestic and must have commanded the eyes and hearts of everyone in this neighborhood, but now it is a burned out corpse. It is a boarded up shell littered with trash and refuse and graffiti and broken glass. And you can just see and tell that this is a place where teenagers go to smoke weed and throw bottles against walls. But that's where this pin is dropped.
Why here?
Ding! Look inside.
It's filthy in there. I'm not going in there.
Ding! Look inside.
And I think Lumièra just rolls her eyes and like pulls her hair back from across her shoulders so it all just kind of like hangs down her back and reluctantly walks inside, or at least attempts to, without touching anything.
Absolutely. There's no front door anymore, just kind of an open, yawning, charred mouth. As you step underneath this crumbling brick archway, you enter what appears to once have been a foyer of sorts. You can see little remnants of old molded ashen carpet and a still standing in the middle of this space wooden banister, a stairway that leads up to a second floor that is now gone. And as you pick your way through this refuse, how are you trying to investigate this area? What skill would you like to tap into?
So I think I think I'm gonna survey.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
So that is
survey
a
around.
mind skill. Excellent. You observe the situation and anticipate outcomes. How many pips do you have in survey?
I have 2 pips in survey.
Okay, just like
Plus a
Xainan.
+1.
Oh, a +1 from special skill? Excellent. So 3. So you would roll 3d6 for this. However, just like Xainan, you are hungry. You have 3 thirst marked. So that's going to go down to 2d6 again.
Okay.
I'm going to set the position here as controlled. You don't stand to lose much just by looking around here. I'm going to set the effect to be limited because this place is really burned down and it looks old too. Anything you might get from just picking through this, other people have probably picked through it already. So controlled and limited.
Okay.
You can, Lumièra, trade position for effect, or vice versa. So if you want to increase the effect that you might have on this place, you can make your position worse. So degrade controlled to risky for a standard effect if you'd like. You also don't have to.
Nah, for right now, I'll just use what I got.
Sounds good. Roll 2d6 and tell me the highest number.
Only a 3.
That is a bad outcome. Things go poorly. You fail or suffer intense complications. Okay, tell me what it looks like at first as you start to survey this area.
I think Lumièra has always been very astute and aware of her surroundings. So I think she tries to come at this like she would any other time if she was coming at a problem and she was trying to figure out a solution. So I think she does the first like passerby glance just to like set up the picture in her mind before she focuses on the minute details. But I think as she focuses on those minute details, her hunger gets in the way. Like it keeps her from being able to essentially where's Waldo in all of this, like how she typically would be able to pick something, a fine detail out of a bigger picture. She can't seem to focus.
Yeah, you're trying to construct what this might have been, and we see kind of like another railing appear in your mind's eye and curve up, and the carpet suddenly look fresh and new as it unfolds over the stairs, and then it degrades as you feel that flare of hunger inside of you, that thirst. You kind of like shake your head and you attempt it again. You construct walls that unfold out of nowhere in front of your mind. You try to see what might have been underneath the carpet. You try to reconstruct what might have hung on those walls, what kind of wallpaper, paintings, art, and then that flare again, and it disintegrates into nothingness. And you feel like a bead of frustration, I think, doing a wicked tango with the thirst inside of you. And then a kind of throb of pain. In the center of your soul, your time magic, your chronergy starts straining. You are trying to reconstruct the picture of the past, and your time magic is rising up as a organic instinctual reaction to this, trying to help you, but it strains against fate's bindings, and a flash of something glitches in front of your eyes. And you see for just 2 seconds the place that this place used to be, a beautiful dance hall with a chandelier, a carpeted floor that turns into sprung marley and hardwood, beautiful staircases leading up to a balcony level where masked people looked down, and all of this fades away, another flare of pain. And as part of your failed roll, I need you to mark pained as a minor injury.
Got it.
Lumièra, how do you reel in reaction to this time magic rearing its head within you?
Once again, I think it feels almost like a rubber band that's being pulled too tight, but the rubber band is strong. So it's not snapping, it's not giving way, it's just pulled tautly and feels like it's consistently being plucked at, trying to test that test that strength to see if it would actually pop, but it's not. So I think she
And there's
just grabs her chest again.
As you grab at your chest, right, that pain flaring inside of you, almost like heartburn, but worse, much, much worse, soul burn. You're not sure if it would be liberating or terrifying to feel that rubber band snap. Either way, it would probably be the most painful sensation you will ever experience in your life. You try to filter through that image of this once majestic dance hall. The skeleton of this hall still exists here, yes. There's nothing but ash inside. This place is destroyed. But there's still maybe a potential for it to come back. Maybe. Because it hasn't been completely knocked down yet. This is an eyesore in an otherwise beautiful neighborhood. Why is it still here? And it seems it has been here for a long time. It used to be something. It was important to someone. Someone important. Who could it have been? Who? And then your shadow elongates. It ripples. It moves independently over ash and burned brick and rubble. And then rising out of it is Yinghe. Ro. Hauntings are not exactly common in Inferno, but they're not entirely unheard of either. This city has always had a strange relationship with death, as have you, as has every vampire that's ever existed. It is not the what of the haunting that perplexes you, but the who. As you call out into this gallery, phasing through a crumbled wall, is a rather despondent-looking ghost. You see a small, slender hijabi with these huge, thick glasses in front of her face. And she's carrying a stack of translucent books in translucent arms. Oh. Hi.
And Ro sighs, looking at the ghost before them. It says, Hi.
Hi.
My name is Rhododendron, Thakrar.
My name is... I don't know. I don't remember anymore. It's nice to meet you, Chrysanthemum. I mean, we've met before briefly. I don't think you liked me. And Ro, that's not your name, but you do recognize the name Chrysanthemum. That was your great-grandmother.
Chris hasn't graced the walls of this gallery for many a century at this point.
Huh?
You said you knew Chrysanthemum.
Oh, yes. Odd for you to be referring to yourself in third person. But whatever the matriarch of House Thakrar wants, I will happily oblige, despite the tensions between our houses.
Tensions? Are you... What house do you swear fealty to?
Vanius, of course. The house that built this museum. The house that built every building of importance in Inferno.
And how is it that you, member of House Lanius, have found yourself here?
Oh, I died here, I think. An architect, I think I was. Will be? Well, I did die here. Some sort of construction accident. It hurt a lot, I think, and then it didn't hurt at all. And now I'm here because, well, there's a hole now again. A lot of holes everywhere. And blood, too. That's what roused me.
An architect.
The violence. Yes, an architect. Are you an architect, Chrysanthemum?
No, but, and
I hear
Ro
you're
will-
an artist.
Of sorts. I don't make art. I simply collect it, I suppose. Put it together.
Oh, but
make
your
it so that
paintings are
others...
famous across Inferno. Sorry, did I cut you
Right.
off?
No, that's okay. And Ro is, I think, like as this conversation is happening, is like going through their phone and is looking something up. Specifically, Ray is looking for the any information that I would have on the construction of the Recluse Gallery and the ICMA more broadly. Is there a name of like the architect who designed this building?
I need you to roll to see what reliable information you can find on the internet.
Okay.
So what skill would you like to deploy?
I guess study makes the most sense.
Sure, yeah, you're studying the internet. How many pips do you have in study?
I don't, is the thing.
So how this works is you roll, if you have 0 in the dice pool, you roll 2d6 and you take the lower result. So this is hilarious.
Okay.
I'm just gonna make you do that. I'm gonna say your position is controlled, your effect is standard.
Okay, gotcha. Please. My dice curse needs to break immediately right now. Let's hope. Please,
and thank
everybody
you.
cast a spell.
2 1s. 2 1s.
I got 2 6s. I'm not even kidding. I swear to fucking God.
That's what you get, Connie. That's exactly what the fuck you get.
I'm not lying.
Rights for Hamnah!
Wow, this is literally unprecedented.
Right.
It is. It's unprecedented.
That's so funny. Okay, typically if you roll more than 1 6, that's a crit, but you can't crit when you have 0 dice in the pool, unfortunately.
Well.
That's what that
okay.
means. But you do get a 6. You do get a full success. Okay, you find the name of the House Lanius kind of great grandmother matriarch, was the one who built this museum, essentially Chrysanthemum's peer at the time. And you also see like a kind of black and white photograph of this person on one of the many websites that House Lanius controls under one of their various shell corporations and like union landing pages. You find nothing about this person, however. And even though you got like a 6 of full success, you find nothing on the internet about anyone who matches her description or any names that might line up with her. Though you see a few, but you're like, it's difficult to map that name to this face, so you can try.
Understood. And do I have a name for the great grandmother matriarch of House Lanius?
All you find is the first letter of their first name, like a D. Lanius.
Gotcha.
It seems like maybe they went by D.
Gotcha. I think seeing that information, Ro looks up to this ghost in front of them and says, "Did you by any chance work for D? Or do you work for D?"
Oh, this poor thing. And the ghost has approached the tattered tapestry with the shredded linen, the shredded fabric, and the blood-strewn cloth, and is running fingers over it that scoop right through it. But it does leave like a breeze and like cause the remaining parts to kind of like flap in the wind like a shredded flag. Oh. Ren Shimizu. That's the name of their blood. Oh. They had so many hopes, didn't they? And it all ended so violently here.
Ro takes a second as Ren's name comes up out of this person's mouth, and they take a second to steel themselves, and they say, "You know, I would really appreciate it if you didn't say that name in here."
What name? Ren Shimizu?
Yes, that one.
Ren Shimizu!
No.
Ren Shimizu!
Ro will get closer to the girls.
As you get closer, every repetition of the name gets a little louder, kind of shakes the glass over precious objects, kind of makes it tremble.
There's something that you want, right? There's a reason that you're here.
Yeah.
A reason that you haven't moved on beyond the gallery. What happened exactly? You said that you died here.
Yes, I died here, and I don't think my body was ever found. But now my resting place has been disturbed. And that word disturbed suddenly breaks, and the glass shatters on a pedestal behind you and rains onto the ground.
That might as well happen. Maybe if I find your body and give it back to House Lanius, give you a proper burial, would that allow you to move on, allow you to leave the recluse gallery.
Poor, poor, poor chrysanthemum. Poor, poor, poor spiders and shrikes. Neither spider nor shrike shall love without doom. All of Inferno under their heel.
We all know the stories, but they don't have much relevance to your death, do they? I mean, did one of us? I don't think we would have.
Would you have, chrysanthemum? And this person, suddenly this ghost is very close in front of you. You didn't catch them move. They were by the tapestry and now they're in front of your face. Those big, pale eyes beneath those translucent glasses boring into your soul.
I would have
Would
never.
you, chrysanthemum, stop the cycle, or will you continue it? Weave the web or stamp it out?
I would have never done anything to hurt you or the
Hurt
house.
Me, or the house, your house, or my house.
Our house?
Our house?
No.
No.
I think perhaps death has rattled you a bit. Rattles us all.
Rattled me. And the ghost phases through you, and it's a really unpleasant feeling, like suddenly getting doused by cold water, but not on your body, and your very soul itself phases right through you and keeps repeating that word, rattle, rattle, rattle. And the frames of paintings start to rattle against the wall, rattle, 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 in rhythm to this. And one of them unseats from the wall and clatters onto the floor. And another also unseats and clatters. And more of the rubble starts to shake on the floor. This ghost is making your job really fucking hard, Ro.
And Ro is following along as this ghost is kind of moving through the gallery space and is shaking the walls and attempting to destroy, well, not purposefully, but attempting to destroy all of the artwork. I think Ro is trying to like catch falling paintings and sculptures as they are kind of falling and put them gently on the ground as they are frantically following behind. I can help. I understand that you were stuck here. Let me help.
Rattle, 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 spider and the shrike. A city doomed and fated to repeat its strife. Rattle, rattle, rattle. And the ghost keeps repeating this refrain over and over again. Rattle, rattle, rattle. The spider and the shrike. A city doomed and fated to repeat its strife. Over and over and over throughout the recluse gallery. It seems to be locked in a loop of sorts, still shaking occasionally the statues and the paintings on the walls. And you know what needs to be done here. You do have to lay this thing to rest. You have to exorcise this ghost. If you want any chance of putting together the next collection in time for the very important opening.
And I think recognizing that this ghost is sort of stuck and is not going to be shaken out of this loop that they have found themselves in, Ro, I think, as they were following this ghost around the room, stops right where that big hole in the wall is, the one that Ren and Ro had created together during Ren's last moments. And Ro, I think, puts a hand up to the wall, curls their fingers, their light brown skin curling around this cracked edge of the wall, and Ray looks into it and looks down, almost as if they could see all the way down, see it, and find this person's body just laying there. And they, I think, recognize what they have to do, and they say, well, at the very least, House Lanius will owe me a favor.
Ding! Your phone buzzes.
Ro picks up their phone.
You see a message from your sister with two emojis, a skull emoji and a blood emoji, and just a few bare words that say, "You're coming to the You coming to the bloodbath soon or what?
Right. And I'd completely forgotten. Ro takes a look at the time. How long do I have until then?
Well, actually around 90 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not very long at all. And I think as they look at the time, Ray feels something kind of like stirring within them. And they text back to Yara, making a quick stop. I'll be there. Fashionably late. Send.
Ding! And she responds almost immediately as soon as you send with just a heartbreak emoji.
Do you have everything prepared? Do you need me to get anything?
Ding! I'm fine. Ding! Knock yourself out.
And I think Ro thinks for a second. Should I press? Should I ask again? And thinks better of it. Thinks this is Yara's turn to plan the party. It is best to leave everything up to them. To let them sort of show up, show out. And so Ro just responds back, I promise I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it for the world.
Ding! Okay.
You know what? That's fine. That's fine. I'm not hurt even a little bit. And Ro puts their phone back into their pocket, and seeing that the ghost is probably still just in this sort of loop going around, is going to turn to the ghost, say, I promise that we will break this cycle that you keep talking about, this one right here, and we will lay you to rest so that you can be in peace and also leave my gallery, please.
The ghost suddenly stops in the middle of a word, in the middle of a pace, and turns and looks at you and says, whatever you say, Chrysanthemum. Whatever you say. And then is gone. The temperature in the room rises a few degrees, but you know this ghost is not completely banished. Will be back until you exorcise it.
Okay. And I think Rose starts to exit this particular part of the gallery, and as Ray is doing so, Ray makes a note on their phone to essentially there must be somebody like that like works underneath us, right, in this gallery, and sort of starts to make a note in their phone of like who to contact and who to get to start essentially excavating this part of it. But a very small excavation team, a very trusted few individuals that can pull out the body for us. But for now, Ro has something else to deal with, and so they're going to very quickly exit the gallery and, well, go for a little snack before the party.
That's right, Ro. And you soon find yourself in Lover's Lane. And we're going to cut the session there and be back in 10 minutes. That was a weird way of saying we're going to go to break. We're going to go to break there and be back in 10 minutes. Love you all so much. See you in 10 minutes. Hope you are enjoying Inferno so far. And pisho.
Howdy, Transplaners! You know what time it is. It's sponsor Connie time with a word from Hero Forge. Hero Forge has officially leveled up with kit bashing. When you become a pro member, you can place up to 20 more items anywhere on one of your Blorbos with their own independent scaling, rotation, and movement. You can make your character look exactly as they should, even if the specific clothing or accessory option isn't available at the base level. You just have to get a little creative. And because I love you, Transplaners, here's a special sneak peek at a kit-bashed version of Oblivion. Just look at those wings and that base. This would not be possible without the power of kit bashing. The combinations are literally endless, and you can print your kit bashed Blorbos as plastic minis, standees, digital STL files, or even Hero Forge's brand new color statuettes. Color statuettes are twice the size of a regular mini, and just look at this. I mean, look how massive this is, and especially in comparison to a regular mini, you can really get into all the nooks and crannies and details that wouldn't be as apparent on a regular sized mini. Just look at how Oblivion dwarfs Oka here. And also, if you're a GM, consider busting out one of these bad boys during a boss fight to really get your players shaking in their boots. Oblivion agrees. Unlock the true power of Hero Forge with a Hero Forge Pro subscription starting at $3.99 a month. Get in there and start creating at bit.ly/transforge. Now, let's get back to the show. Or more likely, just more of the waiting room. Trust in her will.